South Park funniest moments you'll never forget. Some shows make you laugh. South Park makes you choke on that laugh and wonder if you should have laughed at all. For over 2 decades, Trey Parker and Matt Stone have turned crude animation into cultural warfare, mixing genius, stupidity, and total chaos. From ninja weapons and chili made of parents to celebrity meltdowns and pandemic madness, these are the South Park moments you'll never forget. The ones that went too far and somehow made it funnier. When Cartman Gets an Anal Probe aired in August 1997, it didn't just launch South Park, it launched chaos. The pilot was made with paper cutouts, literal construction paper, and a sense of humor that felt like an act of rebellion. The storyline? Aliens kidnap Cartman, probe him, and trigger flaming farts that shoot from his body like rockets. It was disgusting, low budget, and completely fearless. At the time, no other show dared to combine crude animation with jokes about alien rectal exams and elementary school kids swearing. Comedy Central nearly canceled the entire thing after the first internal screening, calling it too offensive for cable. But then came the test airing. Fans flooded the network with calls and letters, demanding more. Ratings spiked overnight. The executives had no choice but to keep it. Trey Parker later summed it up perfectly. "We didn't want to offend people. We wanted to offend everyone equally." That was the birth of South Park's philosophy. Total equality through total disrespect. The pilot didn't just introduce Cartman, Stan, Kyle, and Kenny. It introduced a new kind of comedy that made every network nervous and every viewer addicted. It was sloppy, weird, and fearless. And that's exactly why it worked. Then in 2001, South Park stopped being just funny and turned into something legendary. The episode Scott Tenorman Must Die from season 5 took comedy and drenched it in horror. It starts simple. An older kid, Scott Tenorman, scams Cartman out of $10 by selling him fake pubic hair. Typical playground prank, right? Not for Cartman. He spends the rest of the episode plotting a revenge so twisted it rewired television comedy forever. By the final act, he's orchestrated a plan that ends with Scott eating a bowl of chili made from his own parents. Then Cartman licks Scott's tears and cries himself, whispering, "Your tears taste so good." Fans were speechless. Some laughed in disbelief. Others just sat in silence. Critics called it the darkest joke ever written for TV. But underneath the madness, it was genius storytelling. It wasn't random shock humor. It was character-driven vengeance at its most disturbing. Breaking Bad writers later admitted the episode influenced their portrayal of sympathetic evil, that strange fascination where viewers hate what they're watching but can't look away. That was Cartman's masterpiece, his first real victory and his total moral collapse. South Park had created not just a villain, but a mirror for the worst in human nature. But the show wasn't done tearing down its own jokes. For years, Kenny's deaths were the easiest laugh in television. Every week, he'd die in some ridiculous way. Run over, crushed, decapitated, and followed by Stan and Kyle's classic line, "Oh my god, they killed Kenny." It was formula. Until season 5, episode 13. Kenny dies. That one changed everything. There was no silly accident this time. Kenny was sick, dying slowly in a hospital bed. The episode aired on December 5th, 2001, and fans tuned in expecting another gag. What they got instead was heartbreak. Cartman tries to use Kenny's illness to push for stem cell research, not to save him, but to build his own pizza clone. It's classic Cartman selfishness, but for once, the cruelty hurts. By the end, Kenny dies quietly, surrounded by silence, and the credits roll without a resurrection. Trey Parker and Matt Stone later said they felt genuinely depressed writing it. Viewers sent thousands of letters begging to bring him back. The absurdity of death had suddenly become real. For 5 years, everyone laughed at the idea of a kid dying every week. And then, for one episode, the show made them feel it. It wasn't a joke anymore. South Park had turned its longest-running gag into a gut punch. Then came Make Love, Not Warcraft in 2006. And the world fell in love with South Park all over again. This wasn't just a parody, it was a cultural event. The entire episode revolved around the boys playing World of Warcraft, fighting a high-level troll player who had somehow become unstoppable. The sight of Cartman's bloated body, covered in crumbs, sitting at his computer shouting commands like a general, became instantly iconic. The line, "How do you kill that which has no life?" became internet folklore overnight. Blizzard Entertainment, the creators of World of Warcraft, actually collaborated with Parker and Stone, giving them in-game footage and character models, making it the first ever South Park episode animated partially inside a video game. It was groundbreaking television. The episode won the 2007 Emmy Award for Outstanding Animated Program, beating out mainstream hits. Critics called it a perfect mix of satire and celebration, mocking gamer obsession while capturing exactly why gaming was so addictive. And of course, South Park couldn't resist ending on a darkly funny note. After spending the whole episode grinding for days, saving the game's universe, and defeating the villain, the boys stare at their screens in silence. Kyle breaks it with one line: "What do we do now?" Stan answers, "Dead serious? Now we can play the game." That's South Park brilliance in one sentence, turning triumph into emptiness. These 4 moments didn't just make people laugh, they changed what television comedy could do. The show proved that crude drawings and foul-mouthed kids could tackle everything from existential despair to pop culture obsession and still land the joke. Whether it was aliens and flaming farts, revenge chili made of human remains, the death that made the audience cry, or a war fought inside a video game, South Park mastered one thing better than anyone else: turning insanity into truth. When Good Times with Weapons aired on March 17th, 2004, it felt like Trey Parker and Matt Stone had lost their minds, in the best way possible. The episode starts with the boys buying ninja weapons at a county fair, and within minutes, the animation flips from cardboard chaos to full-on Japanese anime. Suddenly, Stan's wielding a katana, Cartman's cloaked in black calling himself the Coon of the Shadows, and Butters is running for his life. The now iconic scene where Cartman declares, "I am the darkness," became an instant meme. Years before YouTube even existed, the brilliance was how self-aware it was. The boys imagined themselves as anime warriors, while the adults still see them as kids playing with plastic toys. The shock came halfway through when Butters, dressed as Professor Chaos, takes a ninja star directly to the eye. The frame freezes on his bleeding face, and for a moment, it stops being a cartoon. The kids panic, disguise him as a dog, and drag him through town to avoid punishment. The absurdity peaks when the Japanese vendors from the fair yell, "Oh my god, that's not dog, that's little boy." A line Comedy Central almost cut. The mix of fake Japanese dialogue, pixelated censorship, and real blood created something both horrifying and hilarious. It was so wild that Comedy Central's legal department rewrote its censorship guidelines after the episode aired. South Park had turned anime parody into an act of creative terrorism, and somehow it worked. Then came Casa Bonita, aired on November 12th, 2003. The episode that defined Cartman's insanity. When Kyle tells him he can't come to his birthday party at the legendary Colorado restaurant Casa Bonita, Cartman treats it like a life or death betrayal. So he does what Cartman does best, commits a crime. He kidnaps Butters, locks him in a bomb shelter, and tells everyone he's missing just to take his spot at the party. The heist unfolds like a twisted children's movie. While Kyle's family searches for Butters, Cartman's gleefully diving off cliffs and eating sopapillas at the restaurant like nothing's wrong. The moment the cops catch him mid Black Bart's cave run is cinematic perfection. Cartman shouting, "It's so beautiful," as police drag him out. What started as a story about jealousy turns into a study of pure obsession, and the ripple effect went beyond the show. The real Casa Bonita restaurant in Lakewood, Colorado saw such a massive surge in visitors that management had to hire security guards to control the crowds. Almost 20 years later, Trey Parker and Matt Stone actually bought Casa Bonita in 2021 to keep it open. A fictional joke became a real-life investment, proof that South Park doesn't just parody the world, it changes it. Next up, Towelie, the dumbest character ever made, and somehow one of the smartest. He debuted in Season 5, Episode 8 on August 8th, 2001, as a walking, talking towel with one purpose: to remind people not to forget their towels. That's it. A stoner towel who constantly says, "Don't forget to bring a towel." But beneath the ridiculous setup, Parker and Stone were roasting TV networks that churned out mascots and catchphrases with no soul. The plot spirals into madness. Government scientists, alien DNA, and CIA conspiracies, all orbiting around a towel that just wants to get high. Trey Parker admitted later that Towelie was created out of boredom, a filler character meant to mock bad writing. But fans loved him. He became a cult phenomenon with talking plush toys that outsold every other South Park product that year. What was supposed to be throwaway nonsense turned into a symbol of the show's genius. the ability to turn stupidity into gold. Towelie wasn't smart comedy, it was comedy so dumb it looped back around and became brilliant. What made it hit harder was the ending. Cartman realizing he loves remote learning more than real life. It was stupid, selfish, and deeply honest. Fans called it the first post-COVID laugh that actually hurt. South Park managed to say what everyone was thinking, but no one wanted to admit that the world had become one big, unending episode of its own show. And that's the real joke. The town of South Park never changes. Every scandal, every protest, every global disaster, the people freak out, destroy everything, and then reset by next week. It's a loop of collective stupidity that somehow feels too familiar. Episodes like Go Fund Yourself, Smug Alert, and the Chicken Sandwich War show it perfectly. The town always ruins itself, then forgets why. That's why the humor never fades. It's not the events that make South Park timeless, it's the fact that no one ever learns a thing.